Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Game of Thrones. And whoa, that was a very good ending. Obviously, Tyrion realizes that he's being set up to be the guilty party here. And we, the audience, already know that he did not do this crime. He did not kill Joffrey, even though, as he so happily states, he wishes he did. He wishes he was the one who actually ended Joffrey's miserable life, and he wishes he could have been guilty of all the crimes that he's being accused of. And, obviously we're seeing one after another, everyone standing forward and saying why Tyrion is guilty in this situation, and overhearing conversations or having conversations with him threatening Joffrey's life. So, it's just one story after another. And the nail on the coffin for Tyrion is when Shay steps up to testify, and she basically throws Tyrion completely under a semi, and she's lying through her teeth, and she's saying that Tyrion killed Joffrey for Sansa. Basically that he no longer wanted her as his whore, because he wanted Sansa, and he was going to do whatever he could to make her happy, and that would be to kill Joffrey for her. She was just coming out with everything, and she was talking about how she was Sansa's handmaiden, but she was also Tyrion's whore, and she would do anything that he wanted, anywhere he wanted to go or do, or she would lick him. All these, just as soon as she started talking, I was like, oh no, this is not going to be good. And at one point, Tyrion's head is down, and he just looks up and he says, "Shay, stop, don't do this." And she's like, "I'm a whore." And in other words, saying, what else am I going to do? This is what I have to do, probably to survive, because let's face it, Cersei has her hand in all of this, and she is definitely manipulating this whole entire situation to benefit herself. What I found very interesting was the conversation that Jamie had with his father, Tywin, when they were on a break. And he basically begged for Tyrion's life. And he said, "I will be the son, the heir that you want me to be, if you just let Tyrion live." And without even batting an eye, Tywin agrees to it, and he says that he will allow Tyrion to be part of the Night's Watch, and he will send Jamie off to Castle Rock, where he will become basically the rightful king of that city, and he will find a wife, and he will have Lannister babies. And he's like, "I will keep my word if you keep your word." And Jamie comes back into the room where, of course, the throne is, and he says to Tyrion, "Listen, father's gonna send you away, and he's gonna promise that he will not kill you if you beg for mercy." And Tyrion's like, that's the same thing that he said to Ned Stark, and then we all know what happened there. So as all of these people are coming forwards, and the last straw for him was Shay coming forward and saying all of these ridiculous lies, he just loses it, and he basically says, "I'm guilty, I'm going to confess." And he says, you're confessing to poisoning Joffrey?" He's like, "No, I am not confessing to that. I am confessing to being a dwarf, and being guilty of being a dwarf, and basically being punished my entire life." And he turns to everybody that's in the courtroom, and it's awesome. He's just like, "I saved all of your miserable lives," back when he had that big fight in last season, and he almost died. And he's like, I saved all of your miserable lives. And he's like, "I pretty much saved you from Joffrey as well. But, I wish I had that poison. I wish I could have it and poison every single one of you." It was awesome. And, of course, Tyrion is one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite. And to see him just losing it, and then at the end to stand up to his father and be like, "I will not let you guys basically decide my fate. I will put my hands into the gods, and I will battle." And I was like, oh my God. He's like, "I want a trial by combat." And I was like, whoop, whoop, whoop. And the look on Tywin's face was like, seriously? And even Cersei was like, seriously? Marjorie knows that all of this is a farce, because she already knows that her grandmother pretty much is the guilty party here. And she's just sitting back like, oh my goodness. And now it looks like next week's episode is going to be a battle. I can't wait. Oh! And, of course, my favorite is going to be for Tyrion to win and to, put everybody in their place. Obviously, who knows if that's actually going to happen. I've never read the books. I don't want any spoilers. I don't want to know if he's supposed to die, anytime soon. I just know that I enjoy his character so much. And even seeing Jamie fight for him, even though Jamie has, gone down a couple in my books because of what he did to his sister, even though I hated his sister, but he still, did the R word to her. So he's not one of my favorites, but to see what he was willing to do, something that he doesn't want to do, he's going to step down, and he's going to go and rule in another city for his father. But now all that seems to be for nothing because Tyrion was like, I ain't having any of this nonsense. So more power to him. He may be little, but he is feisty, and I love that. So at the top of the episode, we had some very intriguing scenes going on with Stannis Baratheon and Davos, who is his right-hand man, minus 4 fingers. And they were basically going to the Iron Bank to beg for money. And there was a very interesting conversation that was going on there because, of course, we all know that Stannis believes that he is the rightful heir because he knows that Tommen is a product of incest. He is not a legitimate heir, and that he is not the rightful ruler. Same with Joffrey, and that Stannis is actually the rightful heir, and that he's the only one in Westeros who should be sitting on that throne. And so it's actually Davos who pleads this case quite brilliantly, actually, when he says to them, "Who are you going to back in Westeros if and when Tywin dies?" He's 67. He's almost out of here. And then you've got some, 12-year-old boy who's ruling the kingdom and some crazy mother who nobody in the kingdom likes. So who are you going to be backing? So obviously he's saying that Stannis is the only person who you can back in this situation if Tywin is to perish. So he does get his point across. He does end up leaving with some money, and him and his little pirate friend are off to sail at dawn or sunset or whatever it was. So very intriguing scene, and just to see, Davos sticking up for Stannis, even though he is the one who cut off 4 of his fingers, but his point was that he is a man of his word, and you can trust him, and he will not betray you, and he will get back all the coin that was lost before. So very intriguing scene between those 3, and I really again, like the political maneuvering that's going on behind the scenes. And obviously all these people, Tywin doesn't know that this is going on. Cersei doesn't know that this is going on. So, when all of this is going to come to a head, should be very interesting. Then we had Yara Greyjoy, and she is obviously the sister of Theon Greyjoy. And we all know that Theon has been basically mutilated and being held captive, and he is being controlled by Ramsay Snow, who is very sick and very twisted. And he literally is now calling himself Reek. And Yara goes there to try to bring her brother back. And she successfully gets in there. She, gets him out of the cage. And he's like this terrified little boy. He has no idea who she is. He's like running, like scared. He runs back into the cell after she's like trying to free him. And there's like this crazy war going on. Not war, but fight scenes going on between Ramsay and his people and Yara and her people. And at the end of it, she leaves and she's like, my brother is dead. And so she takes off. Now, he is I'm talking about Theon. He is very disturbed at this point. Like, he's been mutilated. His penis was cut off. He's obviously been whipped. He's been beaten. He's been brutalized for so long that now he's almost, how do I say it? He's basically like, he will do anything for his captor, right? And he even says, do you love me? And he says, of course, my lord. Like, and it's just like this very sick, twisted relationship. And then he says to him, I'm going to need you to do something for me. And I'm going to need you to take back this city, I think he says. And he's like, well, and he's like, how am I going to do that? He's like, I'm going to need you to pretend to be somebody. And of course he says, I'm going to need you to pretend to be Theon Greyjoy, who of course he is, but he honestly doesn't realize this. It's like this really sick and twisted thing going on between these two, and I hope he snaps out of it. I actually hope that Theon is pretending. I really do. I hope that he is pretending to be loyal to him, and then he's just going to turn it around and like gut him like a fish, because, I am not a fan of Ramsay. He is too much for me. So, but some very interesting stuff between the two of them, and, just seeing him when he's like, take off your clothes, and then he gets into the tub, and then Ramsay starts, bathing him. It's just, so weird. But they have been through quite a lot, and it's very traumatic. And then we move on to Khaleesi, who now is basically back to rule in Meereen, and she's sitting at the top of this, elegant steps, and it seems like she's in a pyramid, and one by one, these people of the city are coming and pretty much bowing down to her, and they're asking for things, and she's granting them things. So at the beginning, we see this boy, and he's throwing like these rocks over this little cliff, this side cliff, and then all of a sudden we see her dragon come up, and it's massive, and then all these goats are around, and the dragon just like breathes his fire all over the goats, takes up one of them, and he basically kills the man's herd of goats. So he's there begging Khaleesi, like, your dragon killed all of my goats. So she's like, well, I can't bring your goats back, but what I'll do is I'll give you money for them, and 3 times what they were worth, basically. And she sends him on his way. And then another person comes in. And this is actually the son of one of the masters that she had staked to, like, along the pathway, 163 people that she crucified, basically in just of what they did to the young girls. And so he's basically begging her to let him bury his father and give him the respect and like a proper burial, so that he can, be at peace as he passes on into the next life. And, these are some harsh realities that she has to face. Even though she said she was going to do justice for injustice, there's still things that she might not know 100%. Like he said, his father was standing up for these young kids, but he was overruled. But she killed him anyway. She didn't know necessarily all the details. So it makes for a very interesting, when you are the ruler and you're in power, you can't just like rule with a blank slate. Like, you have to understand every situation might be more complicated than you think. So now her having to come face to face with the son of one of the men that she killed, and she's even still like, not apologizing for it. She's basically saying, like, what about the other people, that the young kids that were killed, like, shouldn't they get a proper burial as well? And he's like, I don't know about everybody else, I just want to do what's right for my father. And then she ultimately allows him to do that. So, again, it showed sort of her being able to be strong as a queen and a leader, but then her having empathy and allowing him to bury his father. And I think that is who she wants to be as a ruler. She wants to be tough, she wants to be stern, she wants to make sure that people who are not, ruling correctly are punished, but at the same time she's got to be careful of what all of that brings. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see where Khaleesi goes from here. And then at the end of it, when she dismisses him, she's like, how many more? And then her servant, or I can't remember her name, sorry. She basically says there's 212 people waiting to come and see you. And it's like, yeah, like, this is what it's going to be if you are the ruler. When you are queen, when you are going to try to take over these 7 kingdoms, like, this is what it's about. Like, listening to every single person that wants to come up, either to bow to you or to complain, or ask for mercy, or whatever it is. Like, these are the responsibilities. So you could see that she was kind of like, okay, bring in the next person. You know what I mean? She's going to do what she's got to do, because this is what she wants, right? So very interesting stuff going on there. But again, not much moving forwards with Khaleesi and the Targaryens and the Daenerys. Anyways, but what was interesting was that when Tywin and his council were all meeting before the trial, they were discussing some business at hand, and they brought up the fact that Khaleesi has taken over Meereen, and that she's got two very powerful men counseling her. That some gentleman that was supposed to be a spy is now fully working for her, and she's got these three dragons. And of course, Cersei says, "Oh, baby dragons," and then Varys, Lord Varys, pipes up really quickly and says they're growing bigger every day. And it's sort of like, you cannot underestimate what she's got going on here. She's got like 8,000 members of her army, unsullied is what they say, and she's ruling this city right now. Meereen is hers, and they need to understand that she is becoming a powerful threat. And even Tywin says, we're gonna have to deal with her, and they're like, are we gonna have to put her down? They're like, eventually, yes. So they're gonna have to start to realize what is coming their way, and I like that they are seeing her as a viable threat right now, which is great, because that is the point. She wants to take over all these cities, build up her army, so that when she attacks, she's got them right where she wants them. She will control it. So I like all that. We had some very interesting conversations going on again with Lord Varys and Oberyn. And of course, they're skulking around the chamber there where the throne is, and they're basically kind of one-upping one another, like, "Ooh, how do you know this, and you know so much about this city, and oh, what's going on, da, da, da." And at the end of the day, they're basically saying, I've got my eye on you, and and what I like with Lord Varys is he says, "I'm not into men, I'm not into women, I'm into basically trying to get power, and if you're not busy with all of these distractions, I'm a force to be reckoned with," is basically what he's saying, right? I don't have all these things tempting me. My vision is right, like I'm focused on what it is that I need to be doing. And that was kind of a cool scene between them. So, is it just me, or is Cersei and Oberyn of Dorne, Prince Oberyn of Dorne, having some like flirty eyes with one another? Gotta keep my eye on that, because there was a moment when you can just kind of see them glaring at one another, and just like the mannerisms. Gotta keep my eye on that. It seemed a little, I noticed it definitely in this episode. So I was kind of like, let's see what happens there, because we all know that he is not a fan of the Lannisters, because he believes that they raped and tortured his sister. So if that will become some kind of tryst, we'll see where that goes. Interesting. And like I said, we had some interesting stuff with Jamie in this episode, because you can see as this trial is going on, he feels, like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. His father is the ruler, his brother is about to be sentenced to death, and he pretty much knows that he is not guilty of this crime without officially knowing it. And he knows that his sister is behind all of this, basically this tomfoolery with everybody coming in and saying, "Oh yes, he did this and he did that and he said this and he said that, and I believe him to be guilty," that he's willing to give up his own happiness pretty much to go and rule at Castle Rock. So Jamie, again, has many layers to him, which I like. He's not just one way. Although he did show a side that I was not a fan of, he is definitely that character that you love to root for and against. And I like that they keep saying, he's the man who was supposed to protect his king, but he slayed him. And so there's so many things about Jamie that are very intriguing. I enjoyed this episode. I loved it when Tyrion, when they were asking him, "How do you think Joffrey died?" And he was like, he joked on his pigeon pie. I had a chuckle with that, because it's like, yeah, I mean, seriously, if you think I did it, there's no way I can convince you otherwise. He's like, I didn't do it, but whatever. And it'll be interesting to see how he gets out of this very sticky situation that he's in, and who ends up on top in this game of chess. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. I enjoyed it. I thought that there were, again, lots of little pieces that are always coming together. Not that much death. We had a sex scene between crazy Ramsay and some girl, but, not much in terms of like brutal deaths or any kind of shock and awes. But I did enjoy the ending when Tyrion basically stood up for himself and was like, I'm going to take this into my own hands, people. I'm done with you. So we'll see what happens next week and where we go when the show returns. All right, guys, let me know what you thought of this week's episode. Leave a comment down below, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.